All right. Thank you for staying with us for NAMI Greater Houston's Now You Know radio show on the amazing 102.5, powered by Bread of Life Inc. I am your host this week, Lavondia Menifee, extending my conversation with the terrific Terrence Stewart LCSW. Thank you for hanging with me this
Oh,
whole hour to devote
it's a
to
pleasure. It's a
men's
pleasure. I'm
mental
loving
health.
this conversation.
Yeah,
Loving the
me
conversation.
too. Me too. So before we left, we were talking about barriers to mental health, and
Yeah.
then we started talking about the other side of the coin, which is making mental health more accessible
Hmm.
and maybe even more acceptable to Black men.
Yeah.
So, what are some informal opportunities for support that Black men can seek out for mental health?
Absolutely. Yeah. So thinking about, well, first of all, if you are in therapy, it's only, an hour out of your whole week,
Mhm.
right? So there's things that you will have to do regardless, throughout your week just to, kind of keep your mental health in a positive state of mind, right?
Yeah.
So you can have a therapeutic process without going to therapy, right?
Mm.
So some of the things like, playing sports, like if you're in a basketball league, I know that's one thing I used to do was like, playing
Mm.
ball, going to the
Mhm.
gym, making sure, you know, you have some type of physical exertion.
Okay.
Also too, like, look good, feel good, going to the barbershop,
Absolutely. Yeah.
making sure
Mhm.
you get your haircuts and all that stuff. For Black men, going out, socializing,
Mhm.
also having a good group of friends, trying to find like-minded individuals to help you,
Mhm.
through your healing process. Because again, therapy, is
Yeah.
only a short amount of time out of your whole week. So there's
Mhm.
other things you have to do in order to help yourself get into a positive state of mind, so that, social support,
Mhm.
physical exertion, and, making sure that you look good so you can feel good as well
Yeah.
too.
I love that look good, feel good. And
Yeah.
you know what came to mind for me is just the importance of the barbershop
Mm.
for our men. Like I get an inkling. So my husband goes, he has a wonderful relationship with his barber.
Mm.
Like his barber feels like extended family.
Hmm. Okay.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
like comes home with all kinds of things. Like it seems like such a rich environment
Yeah.
to share wisdom. One hope and I know that there are places where this kind of work is going forward, where barbers are being trained to be more intentional about being
Hmm.
informal mental health beacons in the
Absolutely.
community,
Yeah.
right?
So I always tell people, and I spoke about this, frequently and recently, that like your barber can't be your therapist, right? But
Mm,
there
mhm,
are therapeutic processes such as like going to your barber and like, look good, feel good, talking with your barber, that
mhm,
builds a sense of community. There are a lot of barbers and also like, people in the church that are
mm.
looking to, get mental health certifications. Like my uncle, for example, he's been a pastor for like 25, maybe 30 years or so. Like
Okay.
he is a certified counselor now,
Oh, that's
so he does
awesome.
work in the church, but he also, does mental health services and also life coaching and things of that nature,
Mhm,
wrote books and all type of stuff like that. So
mm,
there are, I always say like, if you're a barber or if you're in the church and,
mhm.
because those are two places or, we're talking about Black men, but also with Black women, like the hair salon, like if you're in that type of
Absolutely.
profession,
Yeah.
it would probably be a good idea to take some courses or learn about how you can be an advocate for mental health because
Mhm.
a lot of times people aren't going to go to the office, the medical office, go through their primary care physician to get a therapist,
Yeah.
understanding like that may, again, that's not going to be you're not going to be their therapist because like you play another stake in their life. But, it can be helpful for you to be a mental health advocate in those
Mhm,
spaces, like,
mhm.
and go to therapy yourself because there are benefits of going to therapy.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because once people unload, then you have to have somewhere to unload that,
Yep.
right? Because as
Hmm.
you said, we're sponges,
Yep.
right? We
Hmm.
are sponges. Children are
100%.
sponges, but we're just bigger, taller, older children.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, and what about support groups?
Support groups. Yeah. So there's I would say social media is a beast. Like
Mm,
I would say like it is probably the best way you can find a support system.
okay.
If you go to hashtag Black Men Therapy, if you go to
Okay.
hashtag, go through hashtags, go through like TikTok. There's a lot of people out there that are advocating for mental health
I love
services
that.
for Black men. I know myself, we're having a series coming up in the next couple of months as well too.
So that's something to keep in mind, and who knows? Like we may be on the precipice of. I'm really stuck on that look good, feel good. Maybe
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
my nephew is a barber, my
Hmm.
baby is a
Hmm.
barber, and so I'm thinking like maybe I should call Kwame and tell him to kind of think about to
Yeah,
watch this
yeah.
conversation and to
Hmm.
think about that, right?
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
going forward, and so I'm holding my heart and thinking about my nephew and just
Hmm.
and of course thinking about my grandnephew
Hmm.
and thinking about black boys
Yes.
and what can we do to make sure that we are bringing up a generation of black boys who have that self-love and
Hmm.
self-acceptance. What are just some easy things that we can do to just shift how we even relate to our boys?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one, understanding the climate that we are in, as
Mm,
far as like as a black community, and understanding that black boys, are going to become black men,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
So I think one thing, just having conversations and checking in, conversations and checking in, like creating a dialogue, teaching your black boy who will become a black man how
mhm.
to communicate their emotions,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of times, even myself, I get caught up like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, good's not a feeling.
Right.
I know it's we
Right.
talk about look good, feel good,
Mhm.
but like
Mhm.
when we come down to like what is the emotion behind that?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you mean by
Mm.
good? Like, what happened at school?
Yeah.
Have you know daily conversations after school. Spend about it doesn't. I feel like people think it's like this whole thing where you have to like, okay, I need to get my son into a workshop, or I need to like have
Mhm.
him do X, Y, and Z. It's like you can have 15-minute conversations on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Check
Mhm.
in, every day. See how they're doing. See what's going on at school.
Yeah.
A lot of times I know it's easier for like black young boys to be caught up in the video games and
Yeah.
like stuff like that. It's
Right.
like easy.
Yeah.
I'll just let them play
Mhm.
the game, but like
Mhm.
tapping in, like really asking them some real questions, because
Mhm.
at some point in time they're going to need to know how to communicate their emotions, and
Yeah.
if they don't know how to
Yeah.
do that, then their emotional intelligence will be shot. And
Mm.
there's been studies now that emotional intelligence is going to be a lot more important than intellectual.
Tell me what does that mean, emotional intelligence?
Emotional intelligence is that's a great question, because emotional intelligence
Yeah.
is just really your caliber of understanding your emotions, and that
Okay.
comes in the form of how you behave, how you
Mhm.
feel, your
Mhm.
perception, your
Mhm.
communication with other people. So a lot of emotional intelligence has to do with your caliber of understanding your emotions. It's just like if you're learning math, you're like, okay, 2 + 2 is 4, or two
Mhm.
times two is 4, or like
Right.
when your certain emotions come up, what's going to be the answer, and how do you answer to those emotions that's being taught to you, or
That's
that
really
you're receiving,
good.
just as, again,
That's
like a
really
math problem.
good.
It's like, I know the answer to 2 + 2, but what's the answer to me being sad? What's the answer to me being
Right.
depressed? Like, how do I
Yeah.
cope with that? So
Yeah.
that's what emotional intelligence really is.
Thank you for explaining that. And what are some things that we can do? I remember when I was an elementary school
Mm-hmm.
counselor, I we had like these little bingo cards
Mm-hmm.
where we could like just kind of put together responses. And one of the ones that my little boys really loved to do who were dealing with anger was push a wall.
Mm,
Like
okay.
just, when
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
just want to just explode on
Mm-hmm.
something, just push a wall
Mm-hmm.
until you release it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, Terrence, thank you for giving us all of those resources and for
100%.
letting us know how to find you.
Absolutely.
And so, for those of you who are tuned in online, you have hashtags, you have social media feeds, you have lots of different things.